Welcome. Take it up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Andrew Lochart, who is the Senior Director of Product Marketing for the Security Solutions at Unisys. Andrew, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you're here because you are going to talk to me about a fresh topic that I have not covered yet, which is the importance of analyst relations, right?
That's right.
Now, you're passionate about it.
I am. I've been doing product marketing or running all of marketing at startups for a lot of years, and I found out about 15 years ago from working with a really great analyst relations manager how important it was and how it was being done poorly, I found at a lot of companies, and how powerful and how high the leverage is when you do it right. And it's something that product marketing really needs to participate in.
Okay. So in the journey, what has your experience been in terms of the significance of analyst relations? And has that changed over time because of social media and other news services out there?
Sure. So, my central thesis here is that marketing creates a lot of content, white papers and blog posts and infographics, and that's great, and we're going to keep doing that. But when it's me and my team writing nice things about our company, that may build some awareness, but it doesn't build any credibility, right? I really want to focus on getting outsiders saying nice things about the company or the product. And I think broadly speaking, you got to get your customers to do that, get the references.
That's the
and
number one,
testimonials.
right?
Absolutely, because they're the peers of the buyers you haven't acquired yet. So you really want that. But I think the second category are the industry analysts, or broadly speaking, the influencers, whoever they are. And getting on their radar and having them understand that you're in a certain market or product category and starting to cover you, I think that's very powerful. And that's part of how product marketing needs to tell its story to the marketplace. I think that analyst relations is just as important as it's ever been. I think there's less impact these days in PR, just because I think it's been diluted a little bit with
the social
media.
Okay.
But conversely, social media and marketplaces where buyers talk to each other, like Yelp, for example.
Right, like the communities.
Yeah, those have become forms of influencers, right? Buyers are looking at, well, what are their peers, the other buyers saying? We see Gartner is taking advantage of that with Gartner Peer Insights now. They're trying to use that same approach and get the buyers to talk to each other about products and vendors.
Yes. I agree with you on that. Now, certain technology is easier to have peer reviews than others. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the challenges that we always have with security solutions is very often customers don't like to talk publicly about what they're using. The concern is that just gives the bad guys maybe better ideas about how to attack them. So that's always a challenge when you're at a security company, is getting your customers to talk on your behalf. So
what has worked then?
So in security, that's another reason why I do tend to stress analyst relations, that if I'm going to have a struggle, I'm always going to ask the customers, hey, can we do a video or case study? But knowing that I'm not going to be as successful as I might be with other kinds of product categories, I'm really going to focus on the analysts.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean call up Gartner and start talking to them, because that has to start with the buyers. Well, who's genuinely influential with the buyers that you care about? And maybe it's somebody at Gartner, but maybe it's not. So I think that's one of the things I always try to do when I started a company, is really understand the buyer persona. And not just in the traditional ways that you do for campaigns, like what's the job title or what's the region or the vertical, but who are their influencers?
How would you know? How would you know that?
I just go and ask. Every time I start at a company,
I
go to the salespeople, I go to the product managers who helped achieve product market fit. I say, put me in touch with the early customers, because I'm going to ask them a question that we probably haven't asked them before, and that's who influences their purchasing decisions.
Who did you go to get comments on the products?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So then once you identify these analysts, how do you build that relationship with them?
So I'm glad you phrased the question that way, because it is about building a relationship. I've gone to a number of startups where the attitude from the CEO or the CMO was sort of, well, let's just make sure we end up in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and that it's like a once-a-year activity. And I just don't think that leads to really great success. It would be nice to show up in that kind of report, but I think that is a misunderstanding of what the analysts do for a living, all the different kinds of reports that they write throughout the course of a year. It's not just Magic Quadrants, it's all these other types of research they're doing. And it also, I think, misunderstands what analysts do for a living and what it's so easy in marketing to think about what we want to get from the analyst, right? We want to get our dot placed in a quadrant. But I think we have to stop and think about, well, what could we give to the analyst? What do they need from us?
What do they need?
I think they need as much clear, detailed, honest information about your offering that they can get their hands on.
Okay.
Because they can't write meaningfully about you. Do you belong in this product category over here or this one?
Right.
And how are you different from your competitors?
Right.
So you can't, market to them, right? That's a situation I've gone into where the company's talking to analysts as if they were the marketplace in general, and there's a lot of hype and a lot of hand waving, and that's just, I think that misses the point. That's not treating analysts with respect. So, go to them, offer them the information that they need so they can do their jobs well, and then you can start to develop a relationship.
So would you say be more transparent and realistic in answering or giving them information?
I think so. I think so. I mean, there's always going to be topics you just don't want to talk about with anybody. But, hopefully your product really works. And if your product is great at certain features and not as good at others, I typically have found there's no harm in having an honest conversation about that with the analyst. If you can justify why you chose to make your product great at these things and why you might be perceived as a laggard in these other areas. Because usually there's good reasons that the company has made conscious decisions about that. And that's part of educating the analyst. We chose to do it this way because. And hopefully that because is the buyers you're going after, that's what they really value, right?
How often do you actually have these meetings or discussions with the analysts?
So one way to answer it is as often as possible. You can't, ask for too much of their time or wear them out, but certainly any given analyst, I think it's reasonable to want to talk to them every 3 months or so. And I mean, I need to have something to say to them. It can't just be, hey, let's say hi to each other and reminisce about the past.
Maybe
right?
you have a customer who could share a case study. Yeah?
Exactly. So if I've got a new customer that I can talk about, that's a great excuse, especially if that customer had a need or a pain point that is new for us to address or wasn't being met by other solutions, and that gives me a chance to, talk about our differentiators. Obviously, things like product announcements. But again, another excuse to talk to analysts is to ask for their feedback on something. Hey, we updated our roadmap, and we'd like to get your reaction to it.
Right. Okay. Well, these are very good tips. And for those who are in product marketing, analyst relation is very important. I understand that. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
What are some of the changes that you're seeing then in the product marketing role in the B2B tech industry?
So I'm very glad to see that. I think there's a lot more emphasis on product marketing and its role in marketing overall. I think there's a lot of marketers who kind of come up the ranks on the demand generation side and events and leads, and they don't always know what product marketing does, or they get it confused with product management. And if I go back 10 or 15 years when pragmatic marketing started their business and really trying to educate people about this is the difference between product management and product marketing, and here's this continuum of activities, and really having a rigorous way of talking about it. I think that was a huge gain for product marketing. And just in the last few years, I'm seeing more and more organizations popping up. So there's one called Product Marketing Community, and I've attended a few of their events, and it's great because it's product marketers getting together, talking to each other. There are now vendors who want to sell services to product marketers, and so they'll get up on stage. And there's some other organizations like that. And just as a product marketer myself, I like to see more conferences, more discussion about, can we really be rigorous about what product marketing does and understand how it fits in with product management and campaigns and demand generation and sales and all those other touch points.
Excellent. Not everything is rosy. So when you have maybe a report that doesn't place you in the right position or not very positive review, how do you handle that?
So I know there's a variety of opinions on this topic, and I know some really smart people who get aggressive and they, are going to immediately pounce on the analyst and tell them everything that they got wrong. My approach tends to be more the collaborative approach. My first reaction is, okay, I did something wrong. I didn't communicate this offering clearly enough. I have to start with the assumption that this analyst knows more about the product category than I do. I know my product inside out, but they know every other competitor's product inside out. So I try to be humble, acknowledge the fact that maybe there's something that I just don't know about the competition that I think I know. It's also on me if, in describing our offering, I just failed to explain it adequately, or I didn't understand the rules of inclusion, that our revenues weren't high enough. That's on me. So my approach is I never want to trash a relationship over one report, even if it's a really big, important report, and there won't be another one for another year. I don't see the value in trashing the relationship over that. I definitely want to talk to them and say, here are my questions and concerns, and have a dialogue about that.
Okay. Before they publish it, all this time they're trying to be more educated and get really under the hood to understand your product and all that. Do they give you some feedback before they publish so you kind of not shocked or surprised?
Yeah, we've been through some reports in the last year where we got to see not the whole document about us and every other vendor, but what they were saying about us. What I'm talking about is not a Magic Quadrant, but it was a market review that named vendors and evaluated offerings. And they definitely, this analyst firm gave us the chance to review it, give detailed feedback. We think you misunderstood this capability. But not in the whole context of the whole report.
Yes,
I don't know that analysts really do that.
Right. No, I understand. But at least they give you a chance to address anything that you might see is glaringly wrong right before they publish.
Sure, because they also understand that they have a certain amount of influence. And it's not good for them, let alone a vendor, if they get it wrong, if they get the facts wrong. Because some of their clients are my customers, and those customers may go to the analyst and say, hey, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, we use feature X all the time. What do you mean it's not in there?
Yes, it is an ecosystem, yes.
Everybody, I think, is motivated to get it right. And if I feel like they didn't get it right, it means I didn't understand something about the marketplace that I thought I knew, or I just didn't communicate clearly enough.
So what's your goal next year then as far as achieving the analyst recognitions?
So one of the offerings we have in the portfolio is in a new-ish category. Next year might be the right time for some of the higher profile research reports come out from some of the big analysts. Obviously, things like that are out of our control. We just wait and find out what their editorial calendar looks like, and then make sure that we put our best foot forward and answer all the questions. And in the meantime, you don't know when that's going to happen, but you know that when it happens, they're going to want to talk to happy customers. So the things we can control is go get wins, keep the customers happy, and make them our champions.
All right. That's a good one. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being on the show and sharing your thoughts on analyst relations with us.
It's been a pleasure.
From a product marketing point of view, right?
Right.
That's very important. There you have it. Take it up with Jessica Lee, Andrew Lochart from Unisys.